restoring men and history. And what do we have here? Disney's upcoming live action Snow White is another Marxist attack on Western civilization. July 25th, 2023, at Vita Duffy Alfonso, thefederalist.com. So let's look at this because films are important. You know, we believe stories are very important. And we know that famous philosopher or a philosopher said, give me the storytellers, I will give you the world. So it's important what your children watch. It's important what you watch because it will either feed you and inspire you to be better or it will help you go in a different direction, right? So Disney's upcoming live action film. Now, films are important, and over a lifetime, think about this. How many films, if you have children from age 4 to 16, do you think they will film, and how many hours of content? So it's not one or two films, but think of a lifetime of being inundated and indoctrinated by Marxism. That you're supposed to hate men, that you don't need a man, that you don't need no man, right? Disney's upcoming live-action adaptation of the 1937 film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, made by Barbie director Greta Gerwig and featuring a non-white Snow White and racially diverse, multi-gendered, size-inclusive dwarfs. They just couldn't go with dwarfs. Is about to be another girl boss blockbuster committed to dismantling yet another beloved class. See how they have to destroy, deconstruct, tear up. If you like this video, like, share. If you believe in fellowship, pass it around, share it. Thank you. It's no longer 1937. Snow White actress Rachel Zegler told Variety in a viral, wow, she's brilliant. Recently resurfaced interview from September 22. Quote, she's not going to be saved by the prince. She's not going to be dreaming about true love, said Zegler. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. Okay. In my entire lifetime, I think I've only met one girl who was in the groups who wanted to be a leader like this, okay? Or in all my dating life and in all the women I've met. But anyway, here's the point. Most women want a relationship. That's human nature. Most women want to fall in love. That's human nature. But feminism tells them they don't need that, right? She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. Is that the most fulfilling thing for a woman? No. Is being a leader the most fulfilling thing for a woman or having children? Is being a leader the most fulfilling thing a woman can do or falling in love? Huh. Yeah, we know which it is. It's falling in love. It's having a relationship for 99% of women, for 99.9% of women. It's no longer 1937. She's not going to be saved by the prince. How many billions will this Snow White remake cost Disney? That's in Wokeness tweet. I don't know about Zegler, but I've read the Brothers Grimm version of Snow White, to which Disney's 1937 adaptation is fairly faithful, and nowhere does Snow White's father encourage her to become a fearless leader. No, it's propaganda. This is indoctrination. This is to get girls into the workforce, motivated to make money for Fortune 500 companies, get them out of the home so they control your children, so they can indoctrinate your children, so they have the woman busy, tired, no energy, and you push them into indoctrination schools, and you can't watch the critical race theory being taught, and you can't watch what's going on, and then the state and the schools control and develop and indoctrinate your children because the woman's tired and has been in a career. And it's good for money, for also for Fortune 500 to make money, right? They've got the woman in a cubicle working. Nowhere does Snow White's father encourage her to become a fearless leader, nor did her father die. He is essentially an absent father who goes almost entirely unmentioned as his wife, the evil queen, attempts to murder his daughter, Snow White. So that's the story. Why is her father rarely, if ever, mentioned in the original story? What do you think that is? This is interesting. To understand why, you have to understand the purpose of folklore. Folklore, like folk tales like Snow White, are traditional short stories for children orally passed down to both teach a moral lesson, right, and preserve a shared culture, right? And we do better as a culture if we know the stories, which is getting split apart now. We know the same stories our grandfather and father, that ties us, right? That's important. Unless you want totalitarians and they want to divide people. If you're totalitarian and you want to divide people, you want us to all have different stories, different languages, not unassimilated, right? You want, well, we can go on for that for an hour. Let's keep going with this. But the point is, you want to divide people. You don't want immigrants to assimilate. You want separate languages, separate religions, everything. Not that you allow it, because we have freedoms and we want people to be able to choose. My point is they want to divide. And it's good to have shared books and shared movies that we've seen. Well, there's not many movies to see today, but the full version of Snow White can be read in no more than 10 to 15 minutes because oral tradition requires stories to be easily memorized, concise, and digestible to keep what? Children's attention. Consequently, folktales focus on conveying only a few key moral lessons. That's good, right? In Snow White, envy on the part of the queen and vanity on the part of the queen and Snow White are central to the story. And people deal with envy, and that's in the Bible, right? So this is important. This is a good moral lesson. This is why these women are the tale's most prominent figures. See, it's a womanly thing, right? There's no time to explore the king's marriage with the queen, nor his political aspirations for Snow White. Snow White is primarily a story of womanhood. Worldly temptation, we have that today, right? Materialism, worldly temptations, womanhood. How are we going to develop young girls? What do we want to develop them into? What do we want these movies to say? Because they're going to push girls to become something. They're going to push girls to go against human nature. Blossoming in maturity. Do we want girls to become great mothers and great wives or cubicle workers? And what's going to be more importantly, what's going to be more fulfilling to them? And the perils of failing to grow old gracefully. It's also a story about love, although it's overemphasized in the 1937 Disney adaptation. In both the Grimm and Disney iterations, Snow White is swept off her feet and removed from the influence and malice of the evil queen as her Prince Charming carries her off to a better life. Now, that's a good thing that the man does. And it's a good thing when in these stories the man rescues the girl from the tower, teaches boys, rescue a woman of virtue, fight the dragon, win the woman's honor, right? It teaches a boy, you got to kill the dragon to get the beautiful girl. Courage. You got to have courage as a boy. What resonates in a woman's heart? It is love and relationship for the most part. That's been proven in studies, loads of them. No one should be surprised that Snow White's desire for her prince in the 1937 and contentment in marriage in both versions would be scrubbed from the new. No, nobody's surprised. Disney's the biggest propaganda machine in Hollywood, I think. Look what they've done to Indiana Jones and Star Wars with Kathleen Kennedy running it, right? Destroyed it. Destroy the characters, destroy the myth, all for a feminist purpose. I've talked to people that saw the last Indiana Jones and said it was horrendous feminism and just bad storytelling. I've talked to people that saw the last Star Wars movies that they said were awful. I haven't seen them, just full of feminism, and she writes about it, so that's true. No one should be surprised. Would be scrubbed. One of the feminists' most obnoxious attacks on popular culture over the last several years is declaring war on Disney princesses for their problematic. Now, get this. Get how sick, wicked this is. For woke moms, and by the way, woke moms are the ones pushing the transgender nonsense on their boys. I should bring that article in. White, educated, college-educated women pushing that on, pushing the trans movement, and the feminist third wave feminism pushing the trans movement. So who's trying to wipe out women? The feminists. One of the feminists' most obnoxious attacks on popular culture over the last several years is declaring war on Disney princesses for the problematic promotion of gender norms. So that's a problem. No. Gender norms gender norms are good concrete examples for boys and girls to see, so they develop in what they're supposed to be. So they develop into what human nature requires them to be. A male and a female, two sexes, that's it, done. The other thing is foolishness. As Zegler declared, women should not be dreaming about true love. Zegler says this. Of course, women should be. This is ridiculous. Women are focused on relationships. They want good relationships. They want true love. Talk about it. They write about it. Come on. But this is Marxism. They want to destroy men and women. Why? They want to divide men and women. Why? To have more power and control. There's a purpose behind this. To destroy the family, they gain power. Totalitarians gain power by destroying the family. Stalin said it. The cultural Marxists said it. They say it. They mean it. All right. Consequently, the cultural Marxists worked for it, actually. Woke moms have refused to let their children watch classic Disney princesses or even allow them to play with Disney princess dolls. Well, maybe here's the answer. All traditional people shouldn't let their kids watch Disney at all, or fun Disney, or fun Netflix, because this feminism is bad. As a way of apologizing for the classic princess characters, Disney made every one of the new characters a girl boss. Look, Disney's all into everything now. The pride parades, the transgender movement, everything. They're the worst. This messaging is destroying generations of women who have tied their self-worth and happiness to their careers instead of patriarchal marriage and caregiving. Let's go over that again. This message is destroying generations of women who have tied their self-worth and happiness to their careers. I read an article years ago about all these women that had developed big careers. Guess what their regret was? Not having a male relationship, not having boyfriends and husbands, not having a true relationship. And the other regret was not having children. If they did, they regretted not giving enough time to their marriage and children. But a lot of them had missed it. So this message, it's not just destroying generations of women who have decided their self-worth and happiness. Think about it. Most of them are not going to be at the top. So let's break this down. Most women are not going to be at the top. They're going to be in a cubicle, or they're going to be at home doing paperwork. What's more fulfilling, watching a child do her first walk, or a boy do his first walk, or his first baseball game, or hit the ball first, or doing paperwork for a man, or working in a government office for the government, or getting entitlements from the government instead of marrying a man? You can choose a man, or you can choose the government, right? Or you can choose a career. What are the other choices? Probably others, but you can choose the government to help you and go on entitlements, or you can choose a career, a job. It's more going to be jobs too, right? Career here, but let's face it, most people are going to have jobs, not careers, and a lot of people are not fulfilled or satisfied in their jobs. And we read multiple points how women are not as happy as today as they were in the 50s. And the polls come up consistently. There's a lot of women that would like to stay home that don't have the choice now. So even with feeding this, human nature, and right, the truth always wins, right? It takes billions and billions of dollars to push this, to confuse girls. Confusing a boy that he might be a girl is wicked. Confusing a girl she might be a man is wicked. And the same, confusing girls that they should not want love, rewarding love, that they should not want children, is wicked. In reality, human biology is geared toward love and children. There you go. She says it right here, and that's true. In reality, human biology is geared toward love and children, right? The most important thing for both men and women to do is focus on their love life and their young lives. Discouraging women from doing it is evil. It is a sham that directly contradicts human nature and leads only to what? Misery. And a lot of the women are more miserable today than ever been, according to the few articles I've read with polls. It's the most unhappy women have ever been in America. Okay? So this is not working out, this propaganda they're pushing in the schools and in Hollywood. Everyone knows that feminist obsessive desire to deconstruct science and female psychology, well, we know they push the trans movement, is negatively impacting all parts of Western culture, not just the movies. And we got to stop it. However, Disney's retelling of Snow White is destructive on an even deeper level. Gerwig doesn't like the story of Snow White. She hates it, but she has decided to use it instead of outright erasing it. Gerwig is attempting to deconstruct the story and tell it in woke terms to erase its original intended message. This is a good piece by this lady. I like this piece. I like her writing. In this way, Disney's upcoming live action, let's read a little more comments because I like it. In this way, Disney's upcoming live action is akin to the Black Lives Matter writers tearing down statues, good point, of the founding fathers, of vandalizing. That's correct. It's tearing down, it's deconstructing. By the way, critical theory is what? To destroy. That's what they do. They don't build, they destroy. Now, sometimes they just don't have original ideas. And sometimes this is purposeful to destroy your myth, to untie us from being together. For cultural Marxism to take root in the West, our culture, our history, and you watch this, you saw this during the riots, you saw this, how they were tearing down the statues. And Christian values must be either eradicated or repurposed to promote leftist movements like feminism. Feminism is left. It's pushing the transgender, ironically, and this is funny, the feminist movement, the third wave feminism, is pushing women out. It's destroying women. They know that. So feminism is destroying women. And other forms of identity politics, since tearing down a statue is such a literal representation of the left's goals, it's been easier for people to condemn. However, reimagining and warping classic stories is more difficult. Proponents of feminist Snow White will accuse its critics of being antiquated, anti-woman, and anti-diversity. No, they're anti-woman, not us. We're pro-women. Okay? Yet preserving the integrity of Western folklore couldn't be more critical. It's up to us to preserve this. Look, we have to be the storytellers. This is important. Stories are important. Myths and legends build and expand on one another, creating a connecting web of shared culture. The story of Snow White has roots in the ancient Greek story, of Echo and Narcissus, and the biblical stories of Cain and Abel and the fall of man. What is she saying? She's saying it's an attack, and we've said this before, on what? It's an attack on Western culture and values. We call it Western civilization. And the battle is Western civilization versus feminism, Western civilization versus the left. We like Western civilization. It's important. Now, this isn't to say there's no room for new stories. Okay, she goes into new stories, JR's Lord of the Rings we just talked about. You can do new stories, she's saying. But she's saying Gerwig wants to destroy and replace them with something entirely foreign and countercultural. Tolkien revered ancient myths in English literature, she says, and we know that. We just did a little piece on Tolkien. As a wise professor once told me, good stories challenge us, give us directions and heroes to imitate. Look, we talk about this all the time. We've done a lot of movie analysis. Boys need male role models. They need heroes on film. They're visual. And women need concrete role models. Basically, men and women need concrete role models, and men need it for courage, and they both need it for relationships. The boy saving the girl from the dragon and protecting her creates a protection of men protecting women of virtue. And it leads to family, right? Leads to men who can sacrifice for women of virtue, for their wives, right? A man that can sacrifice to save his wife that he loves and children. So, his wife. Great Western stories are intrinsically tied to Christianity, the core of our civilization. That's why this fight to preserve folklore, promote contemporary storytellers with an appreciation for the past, and oppose the likes of Gerwig has never been more imperative. Okay, get this. We'll wrap up with this. We have to tell the stories, because there's a cultural war going on, and they know it, and they put billions and billions of dollars. But here's the thing. They have to spend billions and billions of dollars because it goes against human nature. It goes against God. It goes against Western civilization. It goes against what? Truth. The truth is men are men and women are women, and you can't change that. So even though the medical industry is pumping billions of dollars into it, and the schools are pumping the narrative in it, and they're spending billions to say that men can be women and women can be men, it's not a truth. The same things in a story, the desire of a woman to fall in love and be married resonates in a woman's heart. Hollywood's trying to change that and push them and say you would prefer being a plumber or a mechanic. No. The way Hollywood sells it is you'll be a top chief executive making $1 million a year and you'll be the top. That's what, 0.01%. And what really fulfills a woman? Most women will be more fulfilled in a good, healthy marriage and having children, right? Most women. Now, we're for choice. We want freedom. So if you don't want that, you don't have to have it. I'm just saying what makes most women happy. But people are free and happy to choose what they want to do. We believe in freedom. We're the freedom side. So if a woman really wants to be a plumber and not get married and not have children, that's fine too. Or if they want to go out and fix fences. All right, so here's the point. We have to tell stories too. We have to fight for American principles and Western civilization, because they're battling hard for the souls of children, for the souls of little girls. And it's going to create misery in a lot of these little girls and a lot of these boys. And what's the point? If they can divide men and women, they gain power. Marxism wants what? Power. So by going against human nature, and telling girls they want this. No, you want this. You want titles. You want position. You want materialism. Materialism. It helps whom? Well, it helps the banks and commerce, and it helps corporate America because women are working, working, working. But it doesn't help most families. And it helps the government because they get more power, right? Men and women are talking less. They're both busy. They're both tired. They get control of the children. So the damaging effects of feminism are massive. The damaging effects of Disney doing these stories in Hollywood, massive damage, okay? What Hollywood is doing with their Marxism is massively damaging children. And you've seen the pride and the transgenderism push, all the other as well. What they're doing is damaging. So what can we do? In the end, we have to tell stories. We have to meet this because it's a cultural war. So we have to get as many good stories as we can out there. Thank you. If you like this video, like and subscribe, share, comment.